Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today, an episode a long time in the making. A band that has been asked for by so many people for so many months. And it's a group that I've loved for a long, long time. And I don't really know the reason why I kind of put this off for so long. No real reason. It's just, a lot on the plate. A lot of other bands to do. I knew I would eventually get to these guys. Of course, we're talking about one of the great Dutch bands of all time, Focus. All right. Thijs van Leer, Jan Akkerman and company. Well, Jan's been gone a long time, but Mr. Van Leer has been kind of manning the helm for a long, long time, since the beginning. He of the great flute playing, the Hammond organ, keyboards, piano, mellotron, harpsichord, Moog synthesizer, and of course, Lodi-yada, 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 Lo-po-po. The guy can yodel, right? Interesting band, though. Prog band, yes. Always known as a progressive rock band, especially in the early days. Mostly an instrumental band, although they did have vocals to some of their songs. They went through a period where they had more vocals than others. In more recent years, pretty much strictly a instrumental act, mostly playing jazz and jazz fusion, although the fusion element has been kind of permeating throughout their music from the beginning. But very cool band. They've also, they have elements of kind of Baroque, rock and roll, symphonic rock, little bits of folk here and there, medieval sounding stuff to go along with the prog and rock and jazz fusion styles. Very eclectic band. A lot of really good albums. I mean, some real classic albums. It's funny, because Focus is a band, like I've been listening to Focus for a long time, but I haven't listened to a lot of them in more recent years, so kind of leading up to doing this ranking here. I mean, some of those early albums are just absolutely freaking enormously great. Really, really good. So let's get started, right? But they got some albums that are really not that good at all. So it's kind of like a weird mix. So we've got 13 studio albums in total. I think there's 14. One of them is basically a re-recording of some of their classic old songs. I didn't include that particular one, but I'm going to include all the rest of them here. So like I said, there's going to be 13 in total. I don't have all of them on hard copy CD. I think I'm missing 4 of them or something, thereabouts, something like that. So I've heard all of them, though. A couple of them, there's a couple that I just never got on CD. I either had on cassette or LP or something back in the day that I would like to replace and get on CD. A couple of them are a little hard to find, but there's one that I'm really think that I need to get, and I'm going to be on the lookout for that. We'll get to that in a little bit. So first of all, let's start with with my number 13. Remember, these are just my choices. That these are in the ranking that I like them. Everybody's going to kind of hear these albums differently, and some might be a little more special to others. So feel free to rank them in the comments below the way you like them, right? So my number 13 from 1975, Mother Focus. Great album cover. Not a very good album, in my opinion. Their worst album. So this is Jan Akkerman's last album with the band for a number of years, probably close to a decade. And it's just... I get the impression that he wrote very little on this album. In fact, did he write anything at all? Yeah, a couple tracks here and there. This is mostly a Van Leer album, but mid-70s, a lot of that real experimental, adventurous, challenging prog and fusion stuff that they were doing earlier in the decade kind of gone by the wayside. This is a very light and airy jazz rock album. Doesn't take many chances. I mean, the songs have some pleasing melodies. It's not a hard listen by any means. Mother Focus, Hard Vanilla, Soft Vanilla, Focus 4. Good songs. They catchy. It's funny because a lot of this album is kind of like soft jazz or smooth jazz before that was even really a term. So, a lot of this type of kind of light and airy and breezy jazz would really start to permeate jazz radio and a lot of jazz recording, specifically from like the LA scene and some of the New York scene, like, later in the decade, certainly throughout the 80s and the early 90s. But here, the band kind of really playing it safe on here. I don't know. For me, it's like, where's the roaring Hammond? Where's those blistering guitars? Where's the flute that's flying all over the place? Nowhere to be found on this one. Very disappointing. Like I said, not a hard listen. It's easy listening, kind of light jazz, but that's really not, you want, especially from 1975, you want a little more energy, a little more fire, a little more danger from Focus, and this one just really does not deliver at all. All right, so number 12, I don't have a copy, so number 12 is actually from 1985. It's just the self-titled Focus, which is basically Jan Akkerman and Van Leer reunion, okay? So they get back together to record an album. They call it Focus. I think some places also call it Focus 1985. Not very successful. Again, mid-'80s. You got the 80s production values. Le Tango, kind of dramatic. It's got some nice passages in it. Russian Roulette, decent melodies. Nice guitar from Jan. King Kong is kind of playful and jazzy, quirky. Beethoven's Revenge, probably the best song on the album. 18 plus minutes. It's got a mix of kind of like funky jazz and synth rock. Tasty guitar licks from Jan throughout the song. Who's Calling is atmospheric with some nice flute, guitar solos. But other than that, the rest of the album for me is just really tame. It's rooted in the mid-'80s. Here you got two legendary guys trying to recreate some magic, get back together after a number of years apart, and doesn't really work. A handful of tracks decent, but other than that, kind of forgettable. Next up, number 11, we're going to go to what they call Focus and Friends, featuring what is his name? Marcus Cirabelli. Okay. So this basically, I decided to count this one because it's got the current as of 2005 Focus band. They're touring in South America, all right, and they meet up with all these great Brazilian musicians and vocalists. They decide to go into the studio while they're there, record some material, right? So that's basically what Beyond the Horizon, which actually didn't come out until 2016, they call it Focus 8.5. Okay, Focus 8.5 or Focus and Friends. Focus 8.5, Beyond the Horizon is the name of the album. All right, so they go into the studio, record a bunch of new songs with some of the local musicians. The album is very steeped in kind of South American Latin jazz. Not a bad thing, right? It's very jazzy. Lots of the Latin influences all over the place, and the percussion, the arrangements, all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty safe album. It kind of sounds like a Focus album, but not. Pleasant listen though. All right, it's definitely you listen to this, it's like it's good. It's just kind of veering off the beaten path for Focus, but not bad. Focus Zero is I believe the kickoff track. The kickoff track, terrific song. Probably my favorite song on the album. That is kind of what I was hoping the whole album would be. Millennium's kind of nice. Rock 5, not too shabby. Only 7 songs in total on here. Talking Rhythms, kind of okay. Very, like I said, very South American sounding. A decent listen. If you're new to Focus, I would kind of not bother with this one for a while. There's much more important albums to check into, but, as a kind of latter period curiosity, not too shabby. All right, next up, number 10 from 2002, Focus 8. All right, this actually had a different album cover. I got this limited edition, which was signed by the band. Okay. So like I said, this is from 2002. This is basically Mr. Van Leer and a whole cast of characters. Again, the lineup of Focus changing quite often since like the late 90s, early 2000s. Rock in Rio, really good song. In fact, he goes back to the yodeling thing and recalls Hocus Pocus a little bit. So, why not? Hey, it worked way back when. Let's bring a little yodeling back in. Tamara's Love has some really nice flute to it. Herky Turkey kind of rocks. Got some good Hammond, lots of flute, plus some more like really weird vocalizations. These guys, like I said, this band tended to, they didn't use vocals all the time, and sometimes they would just throw in these little weird vocalizations. You got a little clicking and spoken word stuff and yodeling. It's like whatever, throw everything but the kitchen sink in. De Ti o De Mi has some really, really silky jazz guitar. Really, really nice. Focus 8, big, grand, majestic. Okay, this band would do multiple Focus songs, compositions throughout their career. Overall, decent enough album. A little on the bland side, but for a latter period album, it's pretty good. The playing is exemplary. That's the one thing you'll always get on a Focus album. The musicianship is absolutely top notch. Like I said, some of the compositions, though, Not overly exciting, but it's a decent album. All right, next up, number 9. The one I do not have a copy of, from 2006, Focus 9, also called New Skin. Again, most of their latter period albums are pretty good. This is a solid record, another new lineup. It's mostly, by this time, as we get towards the latter part of the early 2000s and up to more recently, most of the music is just instrumental jazz fusion. Little bits of prog here and there, a little folk, a little Baroque rock, but works really well. Black Beauty's a great song. You got Focus 7, okay? Both of those songs are really pleasing songs. Some tasty guitars, lots of swirling organ. You got Herky Turkey 2, which is a sequel to Herky Turkey from Focus 8. All right, brings out the flutes and complex arrangements. One of the best songs on the album. Niels' Skin, funky romp with killer drumming, nasty guitar riffs. And then you got the kind of interesting European Rhapsody, or European Rap, with in parentheses SOD. 10 plus minutes, pretty long track. It's majestic jazz rock. You got Van Leer's piano and organ all over the place. You got Niels van der Steenhoven, that's his name, long ass name, throwing down some really emotional guitar solos. Got some weird spoken word narration going through this song, especially towards the end, almost trying to make it sound like Christopher Lee, talking through The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings or something like that, or on a, Christopher Lee guested on all sorts of albums over the years. But all in all, pretty solid record, I think. Not too bad. Not too bad. All right, number 8. I've decided to include this one. I don't always include compilations, but this is like a compilation of unused and leftover tracks from 70 to 75, and it was released in 76, called Ship of Memories. So basically, these are just some songs that didn't make the previous albums. All right, and you know what? It's pretty damn good. So pretty damn good. You got PJ's March is majestic with big guitar and flutes. Can't Believe My Eyes rocks big time. You got some blistering Ackerman guitar solos on that one. You got the jazzy Focus 5. All right, you got Out of Vesuvius, with just plenty proggy. Some of these tunes, I'm amazed, didn't make the albums they came off of. Out of Vesuvius has some really tasty soloing from Ackerman and Van Leer. And then you got Glider is kind of like, there's a couple tunes on here that kind of veer off into some weird kind of funky disco-y places. Glider's one of them. It's kind of like a funky fusion disco jam, but it really works. Okay, it's not kind of lame at all. It's really cool. Then you got Crackers is kind of like a breezy, funky jazz tune. Decent stuff on this album. I think this is well worth seeking out. To me, I always kind of saw this as just another Focus album. Maybe if it had come out 20 years after the fact, different story. But they put this out shortly thereafter. Most of these tracks were recorded, so kind of neat. Pretty good. Number 8. All right, number 7. Another one I don't have, but I need to get because I always kind of liked a lot of the tracks on this album. It's a weird album. It's called Focus con Probie from 1977. So that would come out right after the Ship of Memories. So by this time, the band is in kind of disarray. Ackerman has left, a couple other guys leaving. So you got Van Leer's trying to put the band back together and whatever. So he brings in this American singer named P.J. Probie. Probie, however he says his name, so that's why it's kind of weird they call the album Focus con Probie or Probie, but whatever. It's basically Focus, the new Focus, with this American singer. Okay, it also has guitarists Eve Albers and Philip Catherine, who's a phenomenal player. Both guys are great, actually. You got Steve Smith. Yes, that's Steve Smith on drums. Steve Smith later on with Journey. Also played with, Jean-Luc Ponty and all sorts of other people. Musically, this album is absolutely terrific. It's very much a classic, mid-70s jazz fusion album. A lot of really, really challenging musical passages. Lots of soloing going on. What's weird, though, is you got this guy, Probie, singing on I think 4 tracks, maybe 5. Don't remember exactly. And he's got kind of like this Glenn Hughes type of voice. All right. Good singer, but for me, the vocals seem at odds with the arrangements at times. It's you got these you got these instrumental songs which absolutely blaze, and then you got a couple other tracks that they want to go in that direction, but because they got vocals, the vocals have to take center stage. It doesn't really work. Like I say, he's got a good voice, just doesn't sound right here. Wingless, some great dueling guitar solos. Orion, atmospheric guitar-oriented instrumental. Great stuff. Sneezing Bull has some great flute and guitar solos. Maximum is lots of grooves, great fusion track, as is Night Flight. Night Flight's got some absolutely killer guitar solos. And Steve Smith, really busy drum. Great, fills and tricky time signatures coming from the drum kit of Steve Smith. Just fantastic. I mean, he sounded so good in this band. Like I said, the instrumental tracks here are great. Vocal tracks, kind of hit or miss. I think this could have been a truly great Focus album if they would have decided to just kind of stay the course and do the instrumental, mostly instrumental thing. All right. So, but comes in at number 7, pretty high. Next up, another good one, Focus X from 2012. Focus X, Focus 11, or Focus 10, you can call it. These latter period albums are very solid. They're just really good modern day jazz and jazz fusion. Really, really mature, majestic, classy arrangements. This one starts off with a track called Father Bacchus. Rocks pretty hard. It's got some scorching Menno Gutis guitars. He's one of the more recent guitar players. The Focus 10, again, they keep continuing on with the Focus themes, right? Another really good instrumental song, lovely melodies. Got some cool, like, gentle guitar and piano passages, more of a laid-back jazz cut. Talk of the Clown, quirky and fun, kind of like early Focus, even reminds me of Jethro Tull a little bit. It's got intricate acoustic guitars and flutes. I think for those who love the early Jethro Tull sound will love a lot of the Focus stuff, because there's a lot of flute in a lot of the music, and at times you got acoustic guitars, electric guitars, really cool stuff, Hammond organ. Another really, really good album. I like Focus 10 quite a bit. Coming in number 5, we're going to go Focus 11 from 2018. By this time, like I said before, most of that kind of like early prog sound is kind of gone from the band, but, real tasty jazz and jazz fusion. Song called Mazel, okay, however they say that, has some real quirky arrangements, some nice interplay with the guitars, the keyboards, and the flute. Got Who's Calling and Heaven, both have some really nice crunchy guitars, loads of Hammond organ. You got a song called Palindrome, great fusion barn burner. It's just really an exceptional album. Memorable instrumental fare with great playing all around. That's I believe this is still the current incarnation of the band. So you go Mr. Van Leer on piano, organ, vocals, flute, and synths. Pierre van der Linden on drums. Of course, he's one of the classic era members. He's back on drums. Menno Gutis on guitars. And Udo Panikiet on bass. So pretty good lineup. And this lineup has been together for a few years now. So hopefully we see some stability there. All right, number 4. So now we get to the real classic stuff. So number 4 is going to be their debut from 1970, In and Out of Focus. I think the band's still trying to figure it all out a little bit. You got the great song Anonymous, which has some absolutely raging Ackerman guitar. Great instrumental. You got House of the King, which was released as a single back then. Great melody, fantastic flute, very Jethro Tull-like. Like I said, some of this early stuff. A lot of similarities with the early Tull. Focus, that's the first one, okay? Focus, near 10-minute instrumental. That's actually part 1 of this long epic that appears on almost all their albums. A lot of great Hammond organ and searing guitar licks. For my money, the only thing that kind of holds this album back a little bit is a few too many light vocal pieces. So, here, about half this album is vocal-oriented. We got Sugar Island, Why I Dream, couple others. I think the band just kind of figure out what works best for them, and I think they would lessen up on the vocals starting with the very next album, and I think that really worked for them. But still, good early Focus, pretty good debut. All right, but it would get better from here. All right, next up, the top 3 are kind of difficult because my top 3 are just absolutely, all 3 of them are drop-dead classics, so I'm sure a lot of people who are going to be ranking these on their own are going to kind of focus on these 3. I didn't plan that. Focus on these 3, and deservedly so. And I think, I kind of like my ranking here, but I think that I could make an argument for any of these kind of flipping around a little bit. So I'm going to go with number 3. 1974 is the Hamburger Concerto. Fantastic stuff here. Only 6 tracks. So here, the title track is, 20 minutes long. It's based on variations on a theme. by Haydn. Variations on a theme by Haydn, which is originally, of course, done by Johann Brahms, right? So 20 minutes long, lots of pipe organ at the beginning, got Moog synthesizer, big guitar riffs from Ackerman, got some folky pastoral sections in the middle, then a lengthy, ripping electric guitar solo from Jan Ackerman, where he shows plenty of fire and emotion. I mean, this guy could play. This guy, Jan Ackerman, very quietly was one of the most, I think, technical and accomplished players throughout the 70s that just didn't get the credit he should have, because just a fantastic, I mean, he could do classical guitar, he could play balls out rock guitar, he could play jazz and blues, could do it all. And a lot of these early albums, just complete showcases for him. Overall, this track is just a great meeting of classical and rock music done really, really well. You've also got Harem Scarum on here, which big, thick Hammond organ, piano, mellotron, flutes, nasty guitar licks, great song. Birth, another cool song, just under 8 minutes, kind of simmers and boils a little bit. It's got big Hammond swells, flute, harpsichord, and a really good melodic hook to the song. Then Ackerman comes in with a tasty solo, just a really good, majestic song. The whole album is really good. Really, really good. Yeah, like I said, I would not argue anybody who claims this is their favorite Focus, because it's that damn good, as is this one. 1972's Focus 3, their third album. Double album. You know, not a lot of bands in 1972 would have the balls to go and release a double album as their third only release, right? So this one picks up right where their second album, Moving Ways, left off. Round Goes the Gossip kicks it all off. Very kind of upbeat, rousing prog number with shifting meters. All right, sounded like Gentle Giant a little bit. I find like a couple tracks here and there on these early albums sound a lot like similar period Gentle Giant. This one's got like looping guitars and nimble Hammond organ, kind of odd vocals, you know. Really cool song, though. You got Sylvia, which was released as a single. Big, majestic instrumental rock. Fantastic. Melodic Ackerman guitar solos. Plenty of Hammond. Really, really good song. You got Carnival Fuge, light and jazzy with piano and acoustic guitar. Focus 3, kind of like the first two parts, a kind of slow builder to majestic symphonic rock, soaring guitar solos. A lot of the early Focus tracks, the title of the songs, you know, the tracks that appear in every album, kind of did that kind of slow build, sort of like that. You've got Answers, Questions, Questions, Answers. Fantastic song. All right, 13 minutes and change. Rhythmically pretty dynamic. All right. Some burning guitar and Hammond exchanges. Rocks pretty hard. And very, very complex. So like I said, just under 14 minutes. But in the middle, it gets some kind of really atmospheric, beautiful moments as well. So just a terrific track. One of their best. Okay. You've also got another version of House of the King. Okay. Which was available on the, I believe, the extended version of this. Okay. Then you've got the epic 26-minute Anonymous 2. Another long-form piece from the band that, I mean, Anonymous 2 arguably could be one of my favorite compositions from the band. It's just a prog and fusion lover's dream. You got Hammond organ and guitars every which way you look. Flutes, bass solos, intricate drums, drum solos, just a big, awesome, proggy fusion jam that just never lets up, and it ends the album in such just an amazing, amazing way. So, yeah, Focus 3. Awesome. All right. My number one, not a surprise, I'm sure, to some people. We're going to go with their second album from 1971, Focus 2, or commonly known as Moving Waves. Okay. Band's biggest seller was a gold seller here in the U.S., reached number 8 on the Billboard charts, sold 500,000 plus copies. Pretty amazing when you think about it for an album of this nature. But, you know, again, 1971, a lot of more experimental, adventurous albums were doing big business. All right, I think the general public was a little more accepting of stuff like this back then. You got their big, best-known song, Hocus Pocus. One of the greatest riffs of all time. All right, you got the you got the flutes, you got just a great song, and a absolute classic. You know, one of those songs that you still occasionally hear on FM classic rock radio, believe it or not. You got Le Clochard, otherwise known as Bread, lovely Ackerman classical guitar piece with mellotron backing, gorgeous song. You got Janis, more of a pastel number, kind of a little Genesee sounding. You got it's kind of atmospheric and dreamy, with lots of flute. Just a wonderful little composition. Moving Waves, title track, vocal piece. Again, sounds like Gentle Giant with kind of like cool piano waves going on underneath it. You got Focus 2, all right, continuation of the Focus instrumentals on all these albums. Really great Ackerman guitars on this particular track. Lots of keyboards from Van Leer. But of course, the piece de resistance from this album is the 22-minute suite Eruption, which is based on the opera Eurydice, however they say it, okay, by Jacopo Peri. This is amazing, okay? I talked about the Anonymous 2 from this album. Well, put that next to Eruption, and you've got close to an hour's worth of music that'll just blow your freaking mind, all right? This song just has it all. Hammond organ, mellotron, flute, guitar. It's broken down into, about 15 sections or thereabouts. And, some of them are just mind-blowing. Like Tommy, the section called Tommy is absolutely breathtaking and perhaps has some of Ackerman's best guitar solos ever. I think this track might be Jan Ackerman's crowning achievement when it comes to just the greatness of his playing. It's easily the most daring piece of music the band ever put down and recorded, and quite frankly, that would be worth the price of admission alone. 23 minutes of just absolute breathtaking music. It doesn't get much better than that. Like I said, we're going to get some people who probably have never listened to Focus before. They're like, Pete, where do I start? You know what? Go out and get these 3. Just do it immediately. That's probably all you need for right now. And you'll have plenty of stuff to sink your teeth into. It doesn't get much better than this. I think, Focus is one of those bands that beloved by a lot, but, when you get into these conversations with people about some of the greatest prog bands of all time, I think because their career is so long with lots of stops and starts and some, not so great albums and whatnot, I think their impact on the early part of the 70s with some of these great albums, I think just needs to be measured a little bit greater, because I think that some fantastic music here that no doubt influenced a lot of other bands, and just they're very unique sounding. So there we have it. Wow, 27 minutes on Focus. Didn't think it was going to take that long, but I had a lot to talk about here. Really good band. So here's my ranking. Number 1, Focus 2, or also called Moving Waves. Number 2, Focus 3. Number 3, Hamburger Concerto. Number 4, In and Out of Focus, their debut. Number 5, Focus 11. Number 6, Focus X. Number 7, Focus Con Probie, or Probie. Number 8, Ship of Memories. Number 9, Focus 9, otherwise called New Skin. Number 10, Focus 8. Number 11, Focus 8.5, Beyond the Horizon. Number 12, Focus from 1985. And coming at the bottom, number 13, Mother Focus from 75. There you have it. Just under a half hour. We're about at the same length as some of these epic tracks, right? So go out and listen to some Focus, man. Enjoy some of this stuff. A great band. Fabulous guitar playing, fabulous flutes, Hammond organ, great rhythms, cool songs, jazzy, it's proggy, it's just kind of all sorts of things rolled into one. Very cool band. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. I'm out of breath because I've been talking so much. Visit us on Facebook. Join us over there, like us over there, and of course come back here to YouTube all the damn time, where we are all the damn time on YouTube. So coming up tomorrow morning, we've got Martin Popoff and myself. We're going to rank the catalog of new wave of British heavy metal legends, Angel Witch. And then we got a DVD Blu-ray review for you tomorrow, pick of the day, and then Saturday going to be away. Friday night and Saturday. Won't be back till Sunday morning. So Sunday evening, Steve Fleck is coming back on the show. We haven't seen Steve in a while. We are going to give our top 10 songs of, I'm trying to think, neo-prog legends, early 80s, second coming of prog renaissance legends, Marillion, okay, as well as we're going to rank the catalog of Dire Straits. I've announced this a couple times recently, and then I got like 3 people who asked me on the last video I posted, Peter, you ever going to rank the catalog of Dire Straits? Well, if you've been watching, yes, we are. So, and then starting Monday, we got all sorts of other stuff happening. So we got Rich Catino coming on the show, going to rank the catalog of Camelot. We got Simon Brays joining me. We're going to give our top 10 songs of Status Quo, and then all sorts of other things happening. What else do I have? I'm eventually going to get to the Steve Hackett ranking the albums show, but I picked up so many of his albums. I had like half the collection, half the discography. I had to go order the rest because I should have done it ages ago. So I picked up a lot of them. I'm waiting for one or two more to come in. So that's still going to take a little while, and I'm still trying to digest this Mott the Hoople stuff so I can do a Mott the Hoople show. But like this, there's just only enough hours in the day, so desperately struggling to get all this stuff in. But I'll give you these eventually, so just be patient. Hang tight, and you'll see him at some point, right? So take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.